Welcome to Soulful Latte podcast, a weekly conversation between two sisters to help us and our virtual friends online, like yourselves, grow in life and in faith. We're your hosts. I am Qudsiyah.
And I'm Samia.
And this is season 2.
Welcome to episode 1. Before we start this episode, Qudsiyah, how does it feel? I think at the last episode of season 1, I asked you the same question. How do you feel about season 2? And you didn't know. So now that we're starting, how do you feel about season 2?
Oh, it feels surreal that we're actually recording season 2. But I feel excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, and I think a little bit more comfortable too.
I'm feeling a bit more comfortable, a little less nervous, but still very nervous.
Yes.
So, how do you feel?
Very much nervous. Yeah, I think you nailed it pretty well. And I remember the last season, the first episode we did was a really casual one, and we talked about ourselves and our intentions and everything. And so we thought that the first episode for season 2 should probably be the same, a little bit more casual, and asking each other and getting to know the host behind the podcast. I personally love to see that. What are the people that I'm listening to? Oh, actually, wanted to say that, Qudsiyah, I think a few days ago you did a little poll on your Instagram, and you talked about, you were asking questions. There were some questions that you wanted people to answer to for some reason, and then you asked, why do you follow the Instagram accounts that you follow? And you had one option that said because of the person behind it, and the other one was because of the content. And I was the one who picked the person behind it. To me, getting to know the people is just, I don't know, it means something. I'm like, oh, look at these. You know, I just like to know who they are and what they do.
Yeah,
So,
I'm the same. I was quite surprised that a lot of it was people following other people for content. And for me, that was really useful to know because I follow people based on who they are and also what their content is, but also just that personal touch. You know, just knowing who the person is. So yeah, I love the idea of starting off just getting to know one another.
well, what we decided to do for this episode was kind of interview each other on a different level. I think last time it was a little bit of basic things. And I don't know about you, but I have some questions for you here, which I wanted to go a little bit deeper. Obviously not too much because this is a public platform, so I understand that. But just a little bit deeper. So the format for this episode is that the first half, I have some questions for you. And with the second half, you have some questions for me. All right, so the first question, Qudsiyah, I kind of want you to go back a little bit to your life and see all the highlights that you've been experiencing. When you were younger, older, something that really stuck out to you. So one thing that you're really proud of in your life that you did.
One thing that I did that I'm really proud of. That's a hard one because there's many things that I've done that I felt happy with, but I'm more proud of the things that I've accomplished internally almost. Like it's not so much as something that I did, but something that I managed to change.
So your internal successes are something that really means something to you. Do you want to talk about one of them?
They stand out a little bit more. I think when I look back, one thing that really stands out for me is the moment that I started taking self-development and self-betterment into my own hands and just investing in my own growth myself and, working towards that. So that includes things like reevaluating my life and cutting out toxicity as well as noise, and also digging deeper into my own self to discover who I am and discover who I am in front of Allah as well. I think that for me is something that is an achievement because it's not something I've known all my life. So I would say that, that for me stands out. But it's not something I did. So I don't know if that answers your question.
I mean, at the same time, though, I think that is something that's it's an action. And it takes a little bit of discipline. And it does take a little bit of a harsh look in yourself to see, this is what I need to really get on, because I want to see myself as this kind of a person.
Yeah, that realization as well, that let me look inside myself and who am I? It can be really scary, actually. And especially when you're cutting out toxicity or things that are not really serving you, but you've been around it for a very long time. So it's almost like digging into your life for 20 plus years and unlearning so much as well on the journey. So I think that journey for me is something that I'm quite like, oh, that's really good that I did that. So it stands out a bit more than everything else.
What was your motivation behind doing that? I mean, you could have easily said, yeah, sure, whatever. Life is what it is, and you could have just stopped. So what was that one thing that was like, this is worth it? This uncomfortable moment is worth it?
Yeah, I know. I've thought about that before, and I just cannot locate when it happened or what I was thinking at that time. I feel like it was something to do with the people that I was with and feeling inspired by their growth and thinking, that is who I want to be. So who do I want to be? What kind of person do I want to be? And I think maybe it started from there, but I can't really locate the exact time or the exact thought that sparked all of it.
So now that you are in this stage of your life where that process has already happened, but obviously there's still some things that you're working on. So what would be some of your struggles that you want to see yourself get past already? You're like, it's time now. Let's do this, but it just stays and it just doesn't go away.
That's a really good one. It's just a long journey, isn't it? Just growing, because the moment that you've grown through one thing, there's always something else to grow in. Yeah, one thing that comes up for me for that question is letting go of old pain and old things that were said that really, really impacted me on a very deep level, where it questioned everything that I naturally am. And just kind of not letting that bother me anymore, even slightly, when it's brought up again or when it's said again or when I see certain people again or when they say certain things. I just want to be able to completely let go of everything that's hurt me and not really hold it anymore, But I know that I have a little bit of a long way to go, because I think some things were introduced to me in a very harsh way at some point. And it was introduced to me also when I wasn't ready. So I think that it created a lot more resentment within me when I was younger.
And I find that actually that's something so relatable, because I find that those kind of thoughts come in waves. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I got this, and then they come back again.
Exactly. One moment you're thinking, yes, I'm done. See, I didn't feel anything. Alhamdulillah. The next moment, oh, that pinched me a bit actually. Oh yeah, I still have a bit of it. So it keeps showing you exactly what you need to work on, which is a good thing. Because we don't ever want to be complacent, really.
So when you're going through, we're going through your life actually today, apparently. What is some of your deepest fears in regards to yourself? So now you know some things that really don't work for you. So what are some things that are your pitfalls and you know it? Those kind of fears. Kind of like if I open this door right now, I know that the possibilities it will have is not going to serve me in a way that I want them to. Does that make sense?
Can you tell me more?
Okay, we can do the whole question again, I think, then, because I think it was random.
No, it's not random. I just want to make sure I answer your question. Because I have fears, but I don't know about fears with myself,
So the fears you were thinking of would be like a spider or something?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just like bigger, deeper fears.
Talk about those. Yeah, that's fine.
But it's not something that's a pitfall. It's just something to do with like a realization. One of my deepest fears is honestly dying and then realizing that I actually didn't do everything that I could have done and that I didn't fulfill the potential that Allah had put in me, and that I could have done more, and I didn't use everything that He gave me to give back. And just that realization, when there's nothing, no chances left, I think that is my deepest fear. To go through this life and realizing, oh, I didn't use everything. I had so much more that I could have done, but I got lost and I swayed and I lost sight of what's really important. So that would be my deepest fear, I think.
Or something like not fulfilling your potential that you had.
Yeah, that Allah knew I had, but I got lost in the middle.
That
so
is
Allah
scary.
sent me, so Allah puts things inside me and sent me here, but I've returned fulfilling half of that, and that would be really scary.
I agree. I have the fear right now too. No, because it is true. In the end, what we do in this life matters. And that's something that I don't think we think about as often, that it really does matter.
Yeah, this is it. Like, this is the one chance that we have, But human being is so funny as well. Like, how do we still manage to get distracted and get lost? Even with so many reminders and so many realizations. I don't know. It's so funny.
We're going towards our final questions that I have for you. Last two. What would you tell your younger self?
Ooh.
An advice for younger Qudsiyah.
I think I would say a lot. But looking at my younger self right now, I'm seeing that I was struggling, especially with the people that I was surrounding myself with. Allah wasn't such a big priority in my life. Or it was culturally a priority, but the people around me influenced my actions a lot more than my own beliefs. So I would say make Allah bigger. Make Allah bigger in your life. Surround yourself with the right people. Because I think my probably like 7-8 years of my life have just been influenced by other people who were older than me, who, I fell into that because I didn't quite know myself enough. I would have been like 13, so just starting to kind of get to know myself and getting into this different phase of life. And that's when I had these friends, so I fell into a lot that I shouldn't have fallen into. And if I was more conscious of who I surrounded myself with, I would say that get to know yourself a lot more in the right ways. Make Allah a priority in your life and know that He's given you self-worth and that other people do not give you your self-worth, but it comes from Allah. And that it's okay to seek acceptance and it's okay to seek these things, but you seek them first from Allah. And you don't let other people influence your actions, especially when they're against what's right or what's morally okay for you. So that would be my tiny love letter.
It is a really good advice. I would have liked to listen to it too if I was younger, because I made some similar decisions based on not the right things, not the right reasons. And what about right now? Advice for yourself right now? Because I think, and the reason why I'm asking this question is, we do, when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we just so critical about everything. So what is the advice you would like to give to yourself as you are right now?
I would say everything you do is a service. Everything that you have is a tool. So whatever you're doing, do it with excellence and sincerity. And it's not about what anyone else is doing or where they are. It's about you. It's about where you are, and it's about what you're giving. My advice would be to release the pressure on myself that I put on myself and to ground myself through Him.
You are a really good advice giver. Mashallah, that's really good stuff, Mashallah. I think it's because we just know ourselves so much that, and it helps to give the right advice. And actually, these were the questions I had for you. It's really interesting because maybe one day you'll come back and listen to the podcast again, and you will need this reminder for yourself.
That is so true.
Wonderful.
That is so true. Thank you for your questions. They actually overlap with mine as well, so we've got some similarities.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a few.
All right.
Okay, cool.
All right, so now it's your turn then.
Oh, you know what else I thought of? Something I'd say to myself to make my to just make my life and my relationships and Allah big enough and enough for me. You know what I mean? Like to not really want anything else, or even if I'm doing something, then not to want the results or not to want something to happen, but just in the effort and the purpose and just what's closest to me, make that enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just do it for the sake of doing it, not for whatever you get from it.
Completely. Like, okay, so the first thing I think I want to know about you is, what has your faith journey been like, or your journey to refinding faith?
My faith journey has been full of turmoil, I think. I went to some crises in faith, and that brought me back. I dealt with a lot of emotional things and a lot of stressful things, and there were just a lot of things thrown in my way, which made me feel that maybe it's my fault, Maybe the choices I'm making is because of me, rather than it being a test for me, So, like, I've been the person who's causing the roadblocks, and it wasn't me. It was Allah this whole time. And it wasn't a way to, make me go through something that will hurt me, but if it was because it was a reason for my growth. And now that I look back at it, how true that is, because all of that trauma did help me get to where I am today, where I feel so much more connected with Allah than I was before. Definitely way much more than before. And so I think that was pivotal. Those hard moments were pivotal in me being comfortable in calling myself a Muslim.
Oof. So this is something I'm going to ask you as well that you asked me. So looking at that person now, what would you, if you were to give her a hug and say something to her, what would you say?
Give her a hug? Yeah, no, because I like you said that, because that is coming from a place of compassion. And I have difficulty with that, because when I do go look at myself like that, I am a little bit upset at me. Like, why did I do that? Why were you even involved in that? Why were you making these decisions? So if I was to say it compassionately, I would say to just take some time off and allow for life to happen the way that it is happening. It is really not in your control. So don't worry about it. It's all going to end up fine. Just let it happen. I think that's what I would tell myself, to just chill, take a break.
Yeah.
Because it always ends up being good.
Do not try and control what's not in your control.
No, and I'm a person who is very much like that. I mean, I'm a big planner. I like to have these steps written out. Even though I still do that now, but I think that I've learned to say, like, it's okay if those steps don't happen. It's okay if I'm dreaming a little bit. So yeah, those things definitely I wish I had seen earlier, and I would tell myself from a place of compassion. For sure.
Yeah, from a place of compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet lots of memories are coming to you, that images of what you were feeling at that time.
Yeah, and you know what's really amazing? I don't know if that's for everyone, but I think your feelings are really important. So when I'm thinking about this, I'm not thinking about, oh, this event happened, then A happened, then B happened. I'm just thinking of how I felt during those moments. And that's something that I think I would like to remember now. Like, just how are you feeling through this process? Is what you're feeling a way to help you go through this, or is it becoming a hindrance to your growth?
Do you ever look at your previous self, this self that you're talking about now? Do you ever look at her and dissect what she was feeling, like what you were feeling and at that time, and if what you were doing was like a defense mechanism, or where was it coming from? Do you ever think about like the deeper things of where that behavior was coming from?
I haven't actually done that. What was the cause of it? And I think the reason is because if I allow myself to, it would be very easy to blame others for it. It would be very easy to say, well, this person or, this group or this whatever caused me to lash out, caused me to be the person I was. And there is some truth in that. And some things you can control and some things you can't control. So the things that I could control, which would be the people I surround myself with, would be the things that I was involved in. Oh gosh, I forgot the question.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's answered it. Just like when you look at yourself, do you spot gaps in the things that were happening and think, why was I reacting, like from an aerial perspective, why did I react like this? So this feeling that I'm feeling, what is it connected to? Like I do that sometimes. When I look back and think, why was I doing this action? It's because this was lacking in my life. It's because I wanted to feel this certain way, which is why I did that.
I think I do that a lot more to my older self, like now basically, than I do way back then. Because I think there is some sort of a barrier that I have placed there, and that's for the sake of my own self. Because I mentioned earlier that there is a level of criticism that I associate with myself. And I like to think that I am no longer that person. I am this person now. So what can I do now to improve myself? And so, no, I would say that I don't go back that far to dissect those actions. I just be like, well, that was stupid. And then what am I doing now? I think, so yeah, maybe I should do more of an introspection of why. Maybe there'll be a time for it. But I think right now I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, no, if it doesn't serve you, then you don't need to do it, isn't it? So let's talk about, how has having faith changed you as a person and your life? What has it given you that you know that without faith you wouldn't have this?
Everything. Faith has been the greatest gift. Alhamdulillah. Like it's being a Muslim is a gift. And I don't think I would have believed that before. But now I know that the clarity, the purpose in life that's given to you through it, everything you do has a reason behind it, and it's all connected to Allah. So I really, I went through a lot of things, and I would have to say that the reason why I'm here today is because of faith. As dramatic as that sounds, but it is so true that I am here today because of my faith. And so the faith has given me life, man.
So relatable. Yes. My husband and I were actually talking about this the other day, and we're just saying how much purpose faith gives us, and just knowing that Allah will manage us. Allah is managing us. We're in the hands of Allah. Everything happens for a good reason, and we're in Allah's hands. Like He's doing everything for the best of us, and you're loved. And to know that self-worth, that love comes from a higher purpose, and your life purpose is it just changes everything.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just life-changing, isn't it, really?
It really is.
Even in the way that you approach conversations, in the way that you approach what you do, everything. It's just a mind shift.
And it's just something that you have to do consciously, for sure. So I think I do it a lot more consciously when there is some conflict. That's where I'm like, oh, there's some sort of a conflict, and how do I deal with that? Oh yeah, I'm not here for this, I'm here for a bigger purpose than that. And that's when it really comes out. Yeah. You asked that question, I was like smiling because it means a lot. It really does. It was a really, it made me a lot happy today.
So I was wondering, we don't have to include this, by the way. I was just wondering generally. So you see, I'm in my 20s, right? So I was wondering, is there anything that you would say to me as a 20-something-year-old, anything that you feel like would benefit a 20-something-year-old after you've been through your 20s and know much more than, for example, me that's going through it now. Is there anything that you would say to me?
I think what I would say is people are not important. I think that probably would be it. Don't worry about the people. They will say a lot of stuff. They might have good intentions or bad intentions. I don't know. And I don't really care about their intentions. But I think just don't worry about them in any capacity. And just do your duty towards your family because you have to. But you don't have to listen to everything they say. I think that probably would be one. And the other one would be to find your voice. Yeah. To just be like, you know what, this is me. And this is what I like. This is what I don't like. You know?
To find a grounding in who you are.
No, but your voice. Where you're like, when you're saying, this is not okay with me and I'm telling you this. That voice. Assertive voice.
Assertive voice, for sure. Did you feel like you were assertive when you were 20-something?
I actually was. That got me in a lot of trouble. But I am so happy for that. I really am. I don't really care about the trouble I got into because, man, if I didn't advocate for myself, then who would have done that? And I think, especially with my marriage right now to my husband, I mean, if I didn't advocate for myself, then I don't know where I would be, what kind of a life I would have had. And I admired my assertive voice. And yeah, I would say that it's good to have.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I've definitely grown a lot more in assertiveness, for sure. So I personally want to know about how long have you been married?
Inshallah, 7 years this year, in a few months.
Wow, mashallah.
Yeah.
So what would you say? This is something that, again, is just personal from me to you. It's not something that we have to include, right? You just see how you feel. But for me personally, I've always wondered what marriage is like on 7 years. I know everyone's marriage is different, and I know that, every person is different. I know that. So coming from what is your biggest, or a few of your biggest lessons from marriage? That's what I want to know.
Such a big question.
Yeah.
Lessons from marriage in 7 years. Actually, I do that. I do a lesson each year on our marriage anniversary on Instagram. So I do that. But if I was to kind of put them all together, I think one of the cliched things people say is to compromise. And it's cliched for a reason. I think compromise is really big. Especially as because I'm married outside of my culture. I'm married to a convert. And so there is a lot of things that sometimes pop up where I may feel a little bit uncomfortable. And but the idea of compromise, sometimes people view it as giving up. I don't view it as that. I view it as a building block to something bigger. Obviously compromising in a way that, not that it goes against your value system or anything like that, but compromise in little things. When I was getting married, I actually asked one of my coworkers. I used to ask a bunch of people all the time if they were married, what is your advice for someone who's married, especially if they're married for a long time? I would love to know what they would say. And I just remember hers. I asked everyone, and this is the only one I remember. And she said was to not take little things seriously. And the example she gave was, she's like, my husband cannot seems to throw his dirty laundry in the hamper. He always throws it on the ground. And she's like, you just let it go. I just put it in the hamper and I move on. And I was like, this is such a good advice. Some things are just not worth fighting for. Just don't worry about it. And just kind of take your step and just let it go. That would be one of the big things, I think, for our marriage. Because we have differences. We grew up different. We watch different things on TV. We used to do so many different things. And I just have to be like, oh, well, this is not even worth anything. Just whatever, who cares? This is our life now. Oh, one advice. I did, yesterday I did stories on this cultural, intercultural thing on my Instagram. And, I think it's very important to really value your marriage over anything else, obviously apart from Allah and His Messenger. Just really value it, because if you want to keep something, like for instance, I'm into this ethical wardrobe and all those kind of things, right? And so recently I bought like 1 or 2 shoes which are actually from very expensive companies. For me, they're expensive. Some people it might not be, but for me they are. And I got them secondhand, so I didn't get them straightforward. But I know that if I don't take care of those items, they're gonna go bad. So I actually have to apply things to keep it clean, like once a month. I've been doing it because I love them so much. And I stand by them, and I love them, and I care for them. And so for the marriage, it's just like that. It's something that I care about. It's so important to me that I need to love it, and just really value it. And that just says something. I don't know. Just value your marriage, man.
To value marriage. That's such a big one, actually, because when I think about disrespect and, all of that, it's because there is a lack of a value, I guess. Would you say that's right?
Well, you know how people...
According to you.
Yeah, you know how people say that don't take your partner for granted. And I think we do that a lot. We're like, oh, he's going to be okay with it. Oh, it's okay, it's a little bit, he'll be okay with it. And when you value something, you don't do that.
Yeah, that's true. One advice that one of my uncles gave me before I was getting married was, he said, use marriage to see one another through Allah and to see Allah in one another. And when you see Allah in one another, you won't ever disrespect one another, because Allah's created your husband, Allah's created your wife. So if you look at them as divinely created human beings, then you're going to be less likely to put them down and cause anything that reduces that divinity in them. And also to accept that, everyone's made with flaws, but because Allah's brought the two of you together, that keep him in the center of your relationship. And when he's in the center of your relationship, everything will mold around that. So I found that quite beautiful.
That is a very deep advice. Have you found yourself living according to it yet? Or I feel like that's one of the later stages. I feel like it's so hard to do for me, like right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just a life goal, isn't it? Something that you keep up consistently and continuously. It's not I don't know if it's something that you master necessarily, but it's something that keeps you going and something that you live by and something that's so beautiful when you do it. But yeah, I can't really say because I've not been married like a long, long, long time, so...
But you have definitely gone through something of your own. So we can't really put down our own journeys, even though it's a small one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was quite beautiful. We had a question that I wanted to ask you. And it's a bit of a light one, so...
Okay.
Ooh, but I have another one. Okay. So it's the same one that you asked me.
Which one?
I've just seen it in my list here. So yeah, what is your biggest, deepest fear?
I didn't think you would ask me that.
Yeah, it overlapped. I didn't think you were going to ask me. I wasn't ready.
Yeah, for sure. In our faith, in Islam, it is that, the moment that we die, then the angel of death is going to come. And he will, escort our soul to wherever it needs to go. And I think one of my biggest fears is associated with that. Because if you've been doing well, then, he will come in a very pleasant way. And there's a really beautiful procession to take a believing soul to the next life, And I am just so afraid of not receiving that. Of basically being a person who... I don't know, just doesn't deserve... Well, everyone deserves Allah's mercy. But yeah, I guess, that would be a horrible thing if I didn't deserve it. Because everyone deserves it. And then we'll be like, oh, because you just didn't. And that would be probably one of the worst things that I can think about.
And that will be that then.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting for both of us, it is related to life after death. And I am actually happy about that. Those fears are good fears to have. But I hope, inshallah,
I've
that
actually
it
been
changes
thinking
us.
about, inshallah, that we just remain focused and we
Right?
don't get distracted by so much.
Turn back,
just
you know.
be good.
You still have
Allah's
time.
just saying,
Turn
just be
back.
good.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, I've really been thinking about death these 2 weeks, and inshallah, I'm gonna write about it in my letter as well. Anyway, so I think that's the big stuff out. So I have 2 more just lighter questions. There's something that I want to know from you. So what is something, like a characteristic or like a situation that you really, really can't stand, or that really gets under your skin?
From other people?
That really gets you. Sorry?
From other people?
Yeah. Any situation, any characteristic that you see within yourself or someone else. Yeah, any situation. What really gets you?
So, you know, sometimes there was this wise saying that the people who talk about, what was it? Like a different level of wisdom? That the people who talk about other people are this, the people who talk about ideas are this, you know, like maturity. So sometimes I go to the basis level, especially with my little sister. We have these moments sometimes where we just rant about stupid things. And so, yeah, there's some things that I can definitely say. And I think the biggest one would be just drama. I hate drama. I don't like it. It is something that I wish didn't exist. I wish people would just focus on themselves, stop sticking their nose where it doesn't belong, stop going back and forth and backbiting and all that. I wish all of that would just stop. And that really gets to me if it happens in front of me. Especially towards me. The drama towards me, I can't stand it. You've hit a nerve because I really can't stand it. So and I don't apologize for that. I think, and my response is to kind of get away. That's my response always, and it's not always good because sometimes you have to deal with it. But I wish I didn't have to.
There's something that makes me go exactly like that, the way you did. That sparks something in you, like, no, I don't want this.
Yeah, what is that for you then? Now that you mentioned it, finish the sentence.
It's seeing disrespect. I just cannot
stand it.
Especially with elderly, especially with like parents. Really, 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 really does something to me inside. And I have to remind myself that this is not a situation you can control. Even if it happens on the road, I just cannot deal with it. There was this day that we were crossing the road and there was an elderly couple crossing. And there was a young person in a car. He just hooted at them because he was in a rush. And I just felt like I was sinking. I just couldn't deal with it. And it's something that I've had to learn and say, you know what? It's okay because you cannot control that. You don't have to be that. You know, for me, it's like fighting with that awareness. No, how can I let this happen? This is not okay. But it's not a situation you can talk in. It's not a situation that you can do anything with. So I suffer inside because the disrespect has happened to someone else. But yeah, parents, elderly people who've given their life for you, and then there's disrespect. That really brings my head down.
No, this question riled both of us up for sure. We're gonna have a very eventful rest of the day. But you said you have.
But that was
question?
Interesting to know.
Yeah.
One. So one thing that a few people asked me throughout this journey of being on social media is, you know, you and Samia are both on social media. And you're active on social media. So how do you maintain the balance and not let it take over? And how do you still live your life without letting what you do or anything social media related take over your life or your mind space? And also, how do you think of the work that you do and not let anything bother you in that sense as well?
Well, the last one I can answer easily because I don't really care about other people.
Yeah.
That would be
Good.
it. Yeah. I don't really care if they're accepting of me or whatever. I'm just going to do what I do. And those who accept it, then they will be joining me on my journey. And those who won't, then they can find another one. As far as social media being your life, I think one of the key things is what is your purpose of using it? And social media, is it a tool for you? Or are you a tool for it? Because if you see the whole business marketing thing, right? How they do it right now in social media is huge. Like we have influencers who get paid so much money just to sit and talk about one product. And it works because it keeps happening, and they keep on channeling that. And they're like, oh, look, especially Instagram right now is really big. Before it was Facebook. And now we know Facebook is selling information. Your data was being sold. It's kind of like when you enter for a sweepstake entry, like something that's they're giving away for free. You enter your name and your address and whatever. There's a reason why it's giving away for free to you, because they're selling that stuff somewhere else. They're getting some sort of a profit from it somewhere else. And so to see social media as anything different than that, I think is a mistake. To see it as not as a tool, but something that's using you. It is using you if you allow for it to. And so just realize that, it's not inherently good. There is good in it, but it's not inherently good, because it definitely can be, used in a very negative way. And it's being used in a very negative way by a lot of people. I don't know about you guys, but here in our socio-political environment, it's huge. Social media is a huge reason why we're here. And it seems to be taking actually everything to a different direction. And it's like, wow, the world is not the way it used to be only because of social media. It's really big. And so, yeah, you have to use it wisely, and you have to understand, I'm here for this purpose. Like for my social media, I'm here to share about me and see who else is involved and is doing a similar thing as me, so that I can learn. And honestly, I have removed some people from my social media, because not only because they're bad, but because I no longer feel like I'm being benefited. Like, they're doing something good and it's benefiting a lot of people, but just I'm not on that journey right now. Maybe I'll come back to it another time. So yeah, using it as a tool and not letting it use you.
That's so powerful, that it can use you if you let it.
And it literally does.
Well.
It literally does. And it's amazing that I'm like, oh my God, we're not safe from anything. The prophetic hadith, Prophet ﷺ, he said, one of the signs of the day of judgment is a liar would be seen as a truthful person, and a truthful would be seen, like no one will listen to the truthful person. And I imagined when the companions were listening to this, they were like, how is this possible? Because they knew everyone in their community for years. Like, they probably were there when they were born, They grew up together. And so to say that, how can we take a person who is lying, who is a liar, as a truthful person? They probably had a really hard time getting around that. And now I'm like, oh yeah, you just have to tweet about it. You just have to make a post, and suddenly it becomes true. And so yeah, the dangers of it are definitely real, but I wouldn't avoid it because of it, because there's good in it too. Yeah.
There is good in it too.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to make use of the tool in the right way and not let it really get under your skin. One thing that I try and remind myself of is that, why am I using it? Like you said, what is my purpose here? And what am I using it to do? And because previously I was also, one day I do want it to be sustainable for me. But the journey there, I'm okay with it being slow. Just slow. It doesn't now have to go anywhere, because I've already been in this space where I've spent 2 or 3 months chasing and doing everything that you're meant to do by the books. And because I fell into this kind of desperation, and when the going gets tough, I turned to other things and said, okay, what can I do? What can I do just to make it work so that I don't have to get a corporate job? So I did that, and a lot of the advice that I found was very conflicting with my inner self, and it didn't really make sense. And it just drained me in the process, and it took away the joy. So don't let anything take away that joy of why you're doing what you're doing, because it's not worth it. it's not worth it. All of this fast track stuff, all of this like get this much and this much, it's, I don't know, it's just, it doesn't sound
healthy,
gentle to me. Yeah. It doesn't sound like there's a gentleness behind that, you know? All of these words, I don't know about you, but you know how girl bosses and all of these words that get used, I don't know about you, but I feel like when I listen to them, for me, they don't spark gentleness. They spark something that needs to be worked on for like 15 hours a day, compromise all kind of balance to achieve this one thing. But yeah, I think that, you know, just think about why you're doing it.
So this was a longer episode than usual. If you're just joining us for on Soulful Latte podcast, actually our podcast lasts for around 20-ish minutes on the topics that we do. So this was a longer episode, and I found that the last season first episode was also long, because when we are talking about personal things, we can talk for a while, and I like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I hope you guys didn't mind it either. But starting the next week, we are going to be talking about the topics, and we have a list, and I hope that you're excited about it just as much as we are.
If there's something that you've benefited from today, we'll be so grateful if you'd share it with someone you know. It would help us out a lot if you'd review it on your favorite app and also subscribe to the podcast. You can contact us at Soulful Latte Podcast on Instagram and write to us at soulfullattepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep growing.